So here we are back with episode number 3 of the Hunt to Killer initiation. So, opening up here, we have actually quite a few stuff here. We have a bit of string, which will make more sense in a little bit. We have the stallion necklace that Sylvia hinted at before. I guess she decided to make the stallion instead of the horseshoe version, which I may be reading into, but maybe she's choosing freedom. She's choosing this. She's choosing for perhaps Jasper to be, free and uncontained versus tame and, bridled. Because again, we have our help here. So, starting off, we have our stuff that has been inspected by Megan, and then we have our other manila envelope here. So, opening this up, much thicker than usual. So, our letter from Felix. Listening friend, it appears my earlier apprehension has been vindicated. See for yourself, it is no longer a matter of mistaken words or typos. I must know what this doctor is up to. I hope you have been successful in assessing the archives. Stand by for further instruction. Your membership in my inner circle hangs as fitfully upon a wire as the very organization itself. In nicety, Felix. So one thing I kind of noticed that he always signs off in a different way, so that may end up spelling something, but as of right now I haven't been able to figure it out. Just because in nicety sounded just like such a weird way to sign off a letter, so I'll keep an eye on that. And also, if you notice it, it's also kind of hinting for us to take a look at the archives. On the website, if you go to the archives, there's 3 kind of newsletters, and then off in the little tiny corner is a little spot, a little dot, that if you click on, it opens up this whole big thing of where you enter in some of these words to get some of these PDFs and other stuff. So that way if someone didn't miss that or didn't figure out to go online and then look around, this helps kind of direct you to that, which I felt is kind of nice. But so what does this say here? Well, it says here that Felix, kind of going off of the other letter, thinks that there is something going on. He feels that there is something that they found and something that, again, that something has vindicated his suspicions. And if we look further, we'll see that some of these things are true. So another letter from Randall, the sheriff of the Boston, Montana County. Dear Felix, well, there is no other way to say it. It's beginning to look like maybe you were right to be concerned. I don't like to jump to conclusions, but a few things have happened here since I last wrote you, and it's time I filled you in. Last Sunday, I was out on a hunting trip. Elk make great sausage, by the way. And wouldn't you know it, I found a body. As I'm sure you can imagine, this happens from time to time out here. More often than not, it's inexperienced out-of-towners who run into trouble in the wilderness, and of course, we get our share of hunting accidents too. But this one was a little more, well, unusual, let's say. I know I only transferred from Great Falls a few years ago. Around here, that's still considered new, but I've never seen anything like it. Not least of all because the body was near your facility's grounds. And when I say near, I mean it looked as if someone dumped the victim right on the other side of your fence, almost like a challenge. Now, I know discretion is important to you, so I want to assure you that I'm doing my best to keep this quiet for the time being. I figured, and I hope you agree, that it would be good to have the lay of the land before charging ahead. First things first, I decided I'd better check in with my friend Dr. Cortez. So the next day I headed over to the facility for a little chat. The doc was just as friendly as could be, and the facility itself still seems to be in good working order. But there is just something out of place that rubbed me the wrong way. Not that I could point to anything concrete. I did notice something odd on the calendar in the staff room, though. I managed to stick it in my pocket while the doc's back was turned, and I'm enclosing it with this letter for your eyes only, along with a few other items pertaining to the case. I think once you take a look, you'll see what I mean. Okay, so he noticed something about the calendar that is suspicious, but he's not telling us exactly what it is. I still don't quite know what to make of it all. I have to admit, the state that body was in made me uneasy, and now, oh my goodness, and I'm no squeamish greenhorn. All I can say for sure is by the time I parted ways with Dr. Cortez, I was pretty well convinced that something's wrong. In any case, I'll wait to hear from you before I go any further with my inquiries. Let me know how you would like me to proceed as soon as you're able. I can only keep a lid on this for so long. All my best, Randall, Sheriff. And we have a supplemental report to his initial report. Subject, listening friends of America, gathered from visit with Dr. Cortez. There are currently no patients with visiting hours. Can't see any of them. Apparently they're the ones cleaning the place. They're doing a bang-up job. Okay, so this tells us that he didn't see any of the patients there, which is kind of weird, and that none of them have visiting hours, which again is also very suspicious. High grass outside is due to groundskeeper's vacation. Usually keeps a tidy ship, I'm told. His office was locked. I guess he doesn't want anyone getting into his lawnmower files without his say-so. So this tells us, okay, so the groundskeeper is out. Because of that, they're, as we kind of mentioned before in previous letters and previous clues, that the groundskeeper or the land around the facility has not been really kind of kept up, and this may be the reason why. It looks like he is out on vacation. Meg is a person in charge of day-to-day, but she stepped out to take care of a personal matter. Couldn't wait for her, but desk appeared very neat and organized with various books. Trail guides, photography journals, biotexts, Faulkner, smart cookie. So again, this kind of shows that the picture we had was Megan's desk, and it kind of shows that it's exactly what we saw. We saw the photography journals, we saw the camera, we saw the book with Faulkner, etc., etc. Doc says on site in a converted patient dorm. A little cramped, but sparsely furnished so it frees up space to move. And it's next to the only bathroom in the dorm area with a urinal. Easy peasy. I prefer my buck-hide armchair, thank you. Okay, this just tells us that Dr. Cortez is staying on site. He is living in one of the rooms, doesn't seem to have a lot of personal items, and shares a bathroom. Few official documents lying around, but there was a calendar. Trying to get as much info as I can without outright asking, so I snagged it. I don't know if it's worth anything, but here you go. And place is quiet. Doc says the patients don't make much noise at all. Apparently conversations between staff members are just about all the ruckus that goes on. I think they need a music player or something. Doc suggested Poem Symphonique. Not sure who that's by, but there it is. If you look at poem, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Poem Symphonique, it's this experimental piece where they have 100 metronomes, and they just have them all go until they eventually stop. People have attempted this, and it can last from like 50 minutes to like 45 minutes, it looks like. But yeah, to me it seems like something that would be pretty annoying, if you ask me. So here is the picture of the dead body that he saw. As you can see, a lot of lacerations, and it's kind of hidden, but there is a plastic bag wrapped around this guy's head. As a sheriff, I'm surprised he doesn't know whose body this is. Obviously they can look at dental records and fingerprints, but this is part of the mystery for right now. Maybe it's the groundskeeper, since he's been quote-unquote away on vacation. And then we have here the staff calendar here. So things that are suspicious here. Well, we have Cortez, 12 to 5. I'm not sure what that's referring to, but that's only 5 hours, and in here 6 hours. So it happens every Tuesday. We're not quite sure what that refers to yet. Maybe it refers to maybe some of those Cobra experiments. We have here Clark back from vacation, and Clark dentist at 2:30. Maybe a joke about that joke about going to the dentist at 2:30. But we see here that Clark is back from vacation, so he should be around and he should be cleaning the place. But yet, of course, says that he's still away. So that's kind of interesting. We have pretty much a week and a half that he would supposedly be back and helping to clean up the place. So that may be what he's referring to with it being suspicious. Here we have today, Thursday. Meg is off, so she's not around to visit with. And cleaning day backups, that could just be random stuff. Next here we have Megan's inspected items, usually the letter from Jasper and Sylvia, as well as something to us from her. So listening friends of America, dear listening friend, I hope you will encourage the rest of our listening friends family by recommending us to others. I will personally feel relieved to know that you are helping us by telling your friends about the correspondence that you and I share, as well as the correspondence you share with your friend. It is important to me, as well as the rest of us here at Listening Friends Bosman. I also want you to know that everything here is running very smoothly. There appears to be an increase in activity around town lately, but the local lawmen do not seem too eager to let anyone in on their investigations. In case you were worried about us or your friend, I wanted to let you know we are all doing well. Your experience will not be compromised. No tangled webs here. Thanks for listening, Meg Gibson. So again, another kind of interesting letter from Megan. Unlike the other letters, I feel that the wording and the message here isn't kind of, awkwardly placed, even though it's a very, very long sentence in the first paragraph. It sounds more like normal speech. The other ones are very, very kind of awkward and halting and just kind of a weird message. I find it very suspicious that she references the lawmen and tries to put us at ease, because we know where is this coming from? Why is she mentioning all this? This guy's kind of weird. But again, here we have her letter. So next one here, I'd like to kind of start off with Sylvia's letter to Jasper. Dear Jasper, are you well? And we have a kind of an interesting symbol here. I've been busy with this project lately, and it's made me a little on edge. All my regular customers have been really patient with me though, so I'm thankful for that. One of my favorite customers lately has been the Bosman deputy. Did you ever happen to meet him? We have another symbol. He's a nice man and very cooperative. Not at all like that Sheriff Dietrich, I think it's pronounced. Or Dietrich. You know, the sheriff came to the shop once, a year or two ago, I think. He ordered something, lapel pin, and was overly particular about the details, especially the engraving. It was a bit unrealistic, if you ask me, considering the cost. I think I was something with my pricing back then, another symbol. I told maybe him it would take 2 weeks at the most, and I would let him know if I finished early, perhaps. The stamping and other things make it really hard to read. Well, wouldn't you know, he came waltzing back into the shop, can't read that, expecting that it would be finished before his friend's wedding. When I told him it would take another week, he got upset and wanted to cancel his order. And then, there's symbols throughout this document here. I was already half finished by then and told him it would be unfair to give a full refund considering all the labor I put in and the cost of materials. I even showed him my progress on the pin and he was unhappy with how it looked anyway. I swear I never had such a terrible customer before. Completely insufferable, that man. Sorry for the tangent. I was writing about the deputy, wasn't I? Deputy Nick Morgan. Okay, so we have a new character, we have a new person in this story. He bought an engagement ring from me a while ago, but apparently his fiancée called the whole thing off. I felt so sorry when he came to exchange the ring a few months ago. But that unfortunate deal gave us a chance to talk and to get to know one another. So it's not all bad. I think he really loves to hear about my experiences traveling. He's the type to fantasize about leaving his hometown one day, but I bet he'll end up dying in the same house he was born in. Recently he stopped by and I showed him some of the miniatures I made when I was really into woodcarving. He liked my interpretation of the Hanged Gardens of Babylon I told him I was interested in. Of Hanged Gardens of Babylon, period. I told him I was interested in old architecture and asked him about the Listening Friends building. He told me everything he knew about it: history, size, occupancy, floor plan, even the style of doorknobs they used. Apparently, he worked there as a guard before he joined the force. He said it wasn't a very eventful job, save for one breakout attempt. The patient discovered some sort of escape route, but thankfully a perimeter guard caught her at the gates. Does that sort of thing happen there often? In my last letter, I told you I visited the facility. Well, the outside of the facility, I still don't know what... the outside of the facility. I still don't know what possessed me to go. There was no reason to show my face there, no reason to ask about you. I know now that you won't be released. It wasn't a complete waste, though. I did learn some things. I was surprised that it took me an hour to get there from Bosman, but it was a really nice scenic drive, so I didn't mind the trip. I wouldn't mind taking it again. Take care, Sylvia. So one thing you may not tell because it's very very small. It's kind of a poor copy. There's kind of these symbols littered throughout this document. Obviously, this is the clue that we're going to have to solve. And here we have our letter from Jasper. My lovely new friend, I would enjoy so much to tell you about things that are happening here at home. 2:04. That sheriff has been running around lately, doing things that lawmen tend not to do. I'm not entirely sure about this man with his darting, humorless eyes. I wonder what makes him tick. There is a strange rhythm in his movements and features. I wish you could see him, but that is not how things work. Neither is he, for that matter. To distract me from the matter of intrusive strangers, I have been revisiting old hobbies. One of my favorites has always been tying knots. To just tie a length of cord and change the function of it, that is something by which I am fascinated. A simple old-fashioned rope, for example, is made of woven plant fiber. Even by itself it is full of unknown purpose and infinite function. It could be used to measure length, to secure animals, to provide a tourniquet for a wound. 5 of 10. A rope is like one component of a watch. Alone and unaltered, it requires a great deal of imagination to be woven into a larger whole. But once that imagination is practiced, each piece begins working together in a beautiful and intricate harmony. You should experiment, my friend, 1 on the dot. Think of the rope as your mind, tie it up in all manner of ways, make new wrinkles, and then let it relax. That is all I do, and I find it endlessly satisfying. I have included a few ideas for you to try. You see, long before I learned anything about the insides of timepieces, I had learned how to tie various knots. I once locked a foster brother in the cellar with a simple taut line hitch and some well-placed leverage. His mother was a little distraught over the whole affair. I still think it was something of which I can be proud, and my foster brother received a very important message from me. 2:01. It is surprising, but not a little exciting to think about all the things even a few knots can say. Do you not agree? I find myself feeling a bit reckless lately. I intend to get to the bottom of what is happening here at home. I have taken note of the sheriff's visits, but still it is hard to state with certainty the frequency of his arrivals. Where does the time go? 7:12. It is at moments like these that I sometimes find myself waxing nostalgic in my little desk back in Carte du Monde. How simple life was then, before things had to be woven together in such complicated and dramatic fashion. Ever so cordially, Jasper. Alright, so obviously we have some, similar to Sylvia's note, we have some things kind of pieced throughout the narrative here. 2:04, so things that, 2:01, 1 on dot, things that refer to time, which again is his fixation. However, we do have this, which obviously is going to be our key here. We have 1 to 11 different knots, and we have the names of these knots. So, going from here, I'm going to kind of explain my thinking process and what I feel the solutions are. So if you want to do it yourself, go ahead and stop watching, figure it out for yourself. Otherwise, I will go ahead and let you know what I did. Okay, so on to some things that we will need the internet for. So first here is I believe it's pronounced, poem symphonique. Basically kind of explains that this is kind of this weird, I guess, symphony, I guess if you will, in the Fluxus movement. We're talking about basically they have 100 metronomes, they let them go, it's a ton of clicking, and it keeps going until they're done. Something that I don't think that I would find very interesting, but again, this movement, this period of time was all about, really unique, artistic stuff here. So, going on to the symbols, just because I am a dork, I actually recognize these symbols right away as, old Babylonian symbols for either numbers or letters. Even in the letter, it references Gardens of Babylon, again, to kind of help to kind of direct you a little bit. So I went online and I tried to find, again, some of those cuneiform symbols or signs, and it actually took me quite a bunch of time and a lot of trial and error because I guess there's just so many different types and kinds. So again, here's one, didn't match up. Here's another one, didn't match up. Here's another one, didn't match up. But eventually did stumble upon this one here, and these did match up. And so I was able to find And this one was pretty easy to put forth, even though some of these you can see is usually, like most languages back in the day, was a consonant with a vowel. You're able to find out that it says, "Wait by Craft's room window." So, looks like Sylvia is trying to plan a jailbreak for Jasper, and given her letter about her visiting and doing these other stuff and learning a lot, again, that all kind of supports each other. So Sylvia's clues and keys to me, were pretty quite easy, but Jasper's was actually took me a lot longer than I've cared to admit in order to try figuring it out. But kind of showing you what I did here. First, I wrote down his exact wording and the five, the 5 times it was mentioned. 4 past 2, 5 of 10, 1 on the dot, 2 past 1, 12 past 7. Obviously these can refer to times, but they're also numbers, and I really think that, at the beginning I was like, okay, the numbers really have to correlate with this. So what I did was I first wrote down the numbers that he mentioned in order, 4, 2, 5, 10, 1, and nothing. And then I also wrote down the time to which it refers. 4 past 2 is going to be 2 o'clock and 4 minutes, right? 5 of 10 is going to be 9:55. 1 on the dot, 1 o'clock. 2 past 1, 1:02. 12 past 7, 7:12, right? So starting from there, I went with the numbers here, and I went with the kind of the first letter of the name, and as you can see, that didn't really mean a whole lot. And then I decided to do the same thing with, kind of the actual time, not the order that the numbers are in. Again, didn't come out of anything too far. So I went online. I went and take a look at some different ciphers, different codes. I looked at, there was this clock code that refers to the face of the clock. So I did some of that, and I kind of correlated it with here. I did a few things that I tried, did some substitutions, nothing really worked out. That was kind of a lost cause. I then tried a different type of clock code that kind of used the actual time, like instead of 5 of 10, it usually uses 9:55, and again, kind of combined that with this, substituted some things, didn't work out. It's a big waste of time. You can kind of see my attempts here and my attempts here. I even tried flag semaphore code, and I really tried some kind of other things that have to do with clocks and times, and tried to combine that with this, being that, sailors use knots. But didn't kind of really make much progress there. I eventually stumbled upon essentially a shift cipher that, now looking at it, it's totally easy. I can't believe I didn't figure it out before. So with this one here, you start off with the hour. So 4 past 2, start with 2, and we have a B. And since 4 past 2, so you shift forward 4. So B, C, D, E, F, right? And then 5 of 10 kind of threw me for a loop. 9:55. You start with 10, and then you go back 5. But the other ones are all forward. And that eventually spells facet, which then is one of the passwords to one of Megan's files. That's one thing that I'm still curious about with Jasper and Megan. It seems like Jasper knows a heck of a lot of information, more than he should, just being a patient in this mental facility. I kind of have a theory that maybe, being that Jasper does have a dissociative disorder, it's very possible that he has a relationship, either has a relationship with Megan and they're working together, which is why he knows like her passwords. As a patient, you should never even have access to other things that you have, or that they're maybe the same person. We've never seen Megan and Jasper and Dr. Cortez all together. In the notes from the sheriff, it was very quiet. No one else was there. It's possible that Jasper is playing these different roles within this facility. But again, our future episodes and time will tell. So you put those passwords into the website, and you get, again, some more PDFs, some more files. This is one of the attempts that I used to find Jasper's clue, which again, didn't work out. But anyway, so again, the first one here, again, page with apparently now is a bunch of gibberish that I'm sure in the last month or the last episode will make a lot of sense once we put all these together. So Megan's notes here. Welcome letter. Another letter from yours truly. I hope I do not come across too strongly. I really want this listening friend to stay in the program. Patient letter. Looks like Jasper is getting caught up in the time, but is but it is in such a specific way. It almost feels like he is outside of time, and I can tell he does not trust the motives of certain authority figures. I can understand that. The paracord, something on which to practice tying knots, smooth and strong. Letter from outside friend Sylvia. I'm not sure I'm following these letters from Sylvia correctly. What did the first one say? What about the second? So maybe she's kind of cluing the reader into saying, hey, you know what? This things that she is saying doesn't quite match up. She mentions that she visited the facility, but the other letter said that she kind of didn't. And so other kind of inconsistencies along with these letters. Also, maybe kind of cluing in that, hey, Sylvia is giving codes as well in case maybe you forgot it. Pictures of various knots, again, kind of alluding to, hey, this is probably the answer to, basically the cipher to the code in there. And horse trinket, I see the wild horse, but what if the horse prefers the stable? Again, kind of referring back to that choice. Is it going to be the horseshoe or the stallion? Is it going to be the wild free horse, or is it going to be the workhorse that is, bridled and tame? So going on to the notes, what can we add? Well, under Jasper, notice the sheriff around the facility. Strange because the sheriff stated that he has no patience. Does not trust the sheriff, wants to know what makes the sheriff tick. Talks about the many uses of ropes and knots, how something simple can form different functions. So kind of alluding to his thinking process we've seen before. He looks at things in pieces. Humans finds interesting and wants to figure them out like a watch, takes them apart and seeing what makes them tick. Literally. Sylvia. A secret message in letter 3 reads, wait by Kraft's room window. Had a work order from the Bosman deputy Nick Morgan and Sheriff Randall, which is kind of interesting. Did not like the sheriff. Was a bad customer with this lapel pin. Learned that about the facility's building from the deputy Morgan, perhaps learning the details of the building to plan a breakout attempt, and was very curious about the one breakout attempt that happened previously. Stated she visited the facility in last letter, but didn't really, which is again weird. Does she have something to do with the body? She made a reference to being, oh, I didn't visit the facility, but just right outside of it. So did she have something to do with that body? She did learn some things. Is she planning a jailbreak, or is she learning something else? And then in kind of reference to the stallion horse or the tamed horse. Felix, number 3, he knows that the sheriff he's now working with the sheriff to discover what Dr. Cortez is up to. Megan reiterates that the facility is running smoothly, references police stopping by, which again is kind of weird because, one, she wasn't around. However, it's just something that you would be kind of weird to bring up to someone who just receives letters from, mental patients. And then Randall. We have he was on a hunting trip and found that body right outside the facility. He wants to keep things quiet. Does he suspect a larger conspiracy? As a sheriff, it'd be funny that he is, hiding this body, hiding this evidence. So obviously, the only reason he would be doing so if he suspects that there's more people in on it, and he wants to try to get all the information before he makes his presence known. Found something in the facility calendar that are suspicious. I'm thinking that it has to do with Clark Love being back from vacation, but obviously Dr. Cortez said something differently. A supplemental report mentions that no patients have visiting hours and he didn't see any patients, which again, for me as a mental facility, sounds kind of weird. Groundskeeper office is locked, which again is kind of weird. We know that he obviously isn't around, even though they're saying that he is. Perhaps the groundskeeper's office is a clue to where maybe the experiments are being made or other information. Meg's desk is very neat. And again, we have a picture of Megan's desk. Dr. Cortez stays at the facility. He doesn't have very much stuff. He actually lives in the mental institution, which again is kind of interesting. And the facility is quiet. Then a picture of the dead body. I just noticed that there are, the dead body is naked, has lacerations, plastic bag wrapped around its head, and at this point we don't know who that is. Which again, I think it's kind of weird. I'm sure that the sheriff can, take some fingerprints, do some dental records, be able to find out who this John Doe is. And we have a new character, Deputy Nick Morgan, just a recent visitor of Sylvia, bought an engagement ring that ended up falling through. Sounds like he is a townie. He gave information about the facility, about the building, which may help Sylvia to plan a breakout. And he worked at that facility as a guard before joining the police force. So, not a whole lot of substance to this episode, but we do have some kind of things furthering along or pressing the story, adding to more some things we already know. And we will see if next month's will be any more helpful.